These are some of my tips for hunting from a saddle, okay? There's some things that you're gonna need particular to saddle hunting. There's also some things that you're gonna have to address to make sure you're comfortable from a saddle. And also, we need to talk about some of the shots that you're going to have from a tree in a tree saddle. Of course, the first thing you're gonna need for saddle hunting is a saddle. This is what is called a tree saddle, okay? It's a harness that allows you to, instead of sitting in a tree stand, lean out against the harness. This is made by Cruiser. I really, really like this thing. It's super comfortable, but it has some particular ways of how you're supposed to put it on. All right, all the saddles are kind of built the same. It's a thing that goes around your rear end. It's gonna have a belt around the front, and then there are two straps that your legs go through that go around, whoop, and through your crotch, right here. Then you're gonna take your belt, buckle that thing, make it tight. I've got an unzip fly. One thing you do need to make sure of, however, is that this is called a bridge. We'll talk more about that later, but you do not need that behind you. You need it in front of you right here. It's a part of your system for hanging in the tree. So now we've got our saddle. You're also gonna need a set of sticks to climb the tree. And then also, once you get there, a platform, which is kind of a mini tree stand pretty much for you to stand on. Is super nice. Not necessary, but nice. When hunting from a tree, you're gonna have to decide how high up the tree you wanna be. I usually like to be around 12 to 15 feet, and 3 to 4 sticks will get me there. Today I'm only gonna hang one stick because it's actually easier to film that way. So we're gonna hang one stick, hang the platform, and then get from the tree and show you some angles. I'm gonna take this stick. It's my first one up the tree. So I'm going to put it where about knee level, where I can reach that guy real easy and real safe. Now, I'm going to attach my platform. And this is another really nice safety tip. It's a lot easier to step over into a platform instead of stepping up to a platform. So what I really try to do is maybe carry one more stick than what I actually have to have, and instead mount my platform on the same plane as my top stick. There we go. Okay, from here we're gonna talk about ropes. When you're hunting from a saddle, there are 2 ropes that you carry with you, okay? There's one that's called a lineman's belt that I have right here. There's another one called a tether. I'll show you that in a second. Right now we're gonna talk about the lineman's belt, okay? The way it works is it is attached to these loops. You can see a red loop on each side of my saddle here. I'm gonna take the lineman's belt. It's called that because people who work on telephone poles are called linemen, and they use these type of ropes to stay safe. I'm gonna run this around the tree to stay safe. And now I'm attached to the tree. This is a mechanical Prusik right here, so it makes it real easy for me to take slack out or to give myself slack depending on what I need to go up the tree. I'm gonna take a little bit more out right there. See, now I can lean against that thing and I can step up the tree all the while climbing with my rope like that right there. I'm attached to the tree the whole time, good and safe. Put my weight on the top of my stick, test the platform, step directly over, move the lineman's belt up, take some slack out, up the tree. And I have hunted lower than this before. It actually feels pretty good right here. You're not gonna hunt with your lineman's belt. It's just a safety feature. You could if you wanted to. However, you will be more comfortable in the tree and a better hunter if you attach a tether, okay? A tether means a single line that is a point of attachment, and that's what this is right here, okay? This actually has a traditional Prusik knot on it with a carabiner clip and a loop that is sewn on the end of this rope. This rope is called Amsteel rope, okay? It's super, super strong and will not break. Put it about nose high, usually, is ideal. Now from tree to tree, that might change depending on the angle of the tree or the way your body fits to the tree. I have attached my tether to the tree now. I'm gonna tighten this rope, take the slack out of it there. You notice that I have the kind of connection point right in front of me, right here. That's gonna keep me from swaying back and forth on the tree and keep me good and solid. So now I'm gonna take this, which is my bridge, hook it into that tether, take a little more slack out of it, and you notice now I have slack on my lineman's belt. Now my tether's good and solid. I can take my lineman's belt and store it until it's time to go down the tree. Now I feel comfortable and safe in the tree. My platform is at a good level. It's not tilted out too far. It's not tilted too far back to the tree. And I feel comfortable and safe. And I, ideally in a hunting situation, will have a pull rope attached to either my bag or a backpack that I wore up that is attached to all my gear on the ground. I would then pull that pull rope up, attach my gear to the tree with whatever attachment system I would like to use, and then I would be ready to hunt. Let's talk some hunting scenarios and shots. Okay, first of all, I don't like having this rope hanging down like this, so I always try to do something with it, whether it's just kind of get it out of the way like that, or you can run it through this loop, or right there, a lot of different ways. I'm a right-handed shooter, so in a saddle, you can see you're opposite of a tree stand. Or a tree stand, you'd be leaning with your back against this tree. In a saddle, I'm looking at this tree. When you go to set up your saddle, ideally as a right-handed shooter, you set up for shots on your left, okay? This is my strong side as a hunter, all right? I hold my bow in my left hand, so I have a lot of good shots to about right there, okay? But once a deer gets to my 6 o'clock and beyond, kind of 5, 4, 3, 2, I have a really difficult time making those shots. So I'm gonna show you some of the techniques I use to make sure I can shoot deer all the way around the face of the clock. Ideally, I've got a deer right here at like my 10 o'clock, and it's such a smooth shot. However, deer never do the ideal thing. So I'm gonna show you how to take a shot at 6 o'clock right now. One of the nice things about a saddle is you can move all around the tree, okay? You're not limited to being on that seat. So you have a lot of lean right here. And I'm gonna use that lean to make this 6 o'clock shot. So I'm going to turn. You'll notice that my tether moves up and down my bridge right here. It's actually pulling kind of from my hip almost. Now, I can make a perfect tee to take that 6 o'clock shot. This is something you need to practice because it doesn't feel natural if you're coming from a tree stand. However, once you get used to it, it's no sweat, okay? So now I'm leaning out against my platform with my feet. I have a lot of weight against my tether. I'm gonna point my bow at the deer, slow draw, steady, dead deer. My strong side is my left side, and deer will come from this side. And I will hang my bow on the left side of the tree so that it's the least amount of movement. But what if a deer comes from behind me on my right side, or a deer comes from straight in front of me and gets past me? What do I do then? A 4 o'clock shot on the face of the clock right now, saying this is 12. 4 o'clock is probably my most difficult angle. So this is what I do. It's not what everyone would do in this situation, but this really works well for me. I'm gonna take my bow and go under my tether, like that right there. Then I'm going to take this hand and treat this tether like it is a seat belt and you're the driver of a car. So I'm going to lower my body, spin, and run it right across my left shoulder. All right, now I can lean out against it. It has me tied against the tree, but I still have plenty of range of motion. Ideally, I've let the deer get past 90 degrees on this side of the tree, and what was my weakest shot is now my strongest angle. That's like a 10 o'clock shot for me on a clock face. So the deer's quartering away, smooth draw, find my anchor. This is my least favorite shot out of a tree. It's not really what you would call my weakest, but it's the hardest for me to pull off because I have to move my bow in a direction that feels unnatural, okay? As a right-handed shooter, again, my left side is my strong side. But sometimes that deer that's headed straight towards me veers to the right, but he stays right there. Or maybe a deer approaches from behind me and makes it past me, and I need to make a quartering away shot at 1 o'clock on my clock face here with my tree being at 12. So what I'm gonna do here is actually pass my bow over my tether. That's where it gets weird, right? Because you have to have clearance for your arrow to do that. I'm gonna show you again, okay? A lot of movement with this. That's the big problem. Pass the bow over the tether. It helps to turn your bow in a little bit. That way you're not pointing your arrow directly at the tree, okay? But once you get your bow to here, things get a lot better. But getting to this position without getting caught is super difficult. I'm gonna pivot my body, okay? Lean out with my hips, but still make sure my spine is straight up and down. Now, I have a deer at my 1 o'clock. I can draw, aim, shoot a deer. A couple things to think about when bow hunting from a saddle. You might want to take your quiver off. I shot it with the quiver on for an example here, but you will have a smaller profile if you remove that quiver. Another thing is, it's good to shoot a forgiving bow. I know speed bows are awesome, bows that shoot really fast are great, and compact bows even sometimes are nice in a tree. However, whenever you go to shooting a bow that's a really short axle to axle, sometimes they get a little squirrely, if you know what I mean. So this bow is a longer axle to axle. I really like it because it's very forgiving, but also has a ton of power, really good shooting bow. Another thing is you need to think about what kind of preset sight you're gonna have. I have a 2-pin slider, so I have a 20 and a 35. That gives me multiple options because you don't want to be up here acrobating around trying to move this thing around too much, okay? Another thing is you should probably, at least until you get used to things, practice your draw. You don't need to be trying to draw your bow and hitting your tether or having your bridge hit your string. But if you're a good archer with good form, you shouldn't have that problem because you'll have a straight T still above your waist and your string angle shouldn't give you any problems at all. A super important aspect of saddle hunting is comfort. A lot of us are very used to sitting in a tree stand for hours on end. That can be uncomfortable, but it's very familiar. So sometimes when you start saddle hunting, these become uncomfortable because you don't know how to use one, okay? We're gonna talk a little bit about that so that you can stay in the tree for a longer amount of time. And in November, when the deer are going crazy, that can translate into big bucks down, okay? So what we're gonna do is talk about some of the angles here, all right? I don't like my tether and bridge to be really close to the tree like this because then I don't have a lot of room to maneuver, right? At the same time, I don't like to have a ton of slack and be leaning way out like this. My profile isn't as good. I'm way away from the tree. And I just feel like you're subject to more movement, as well as locking your knees can be not very comfortable over time. So I really like that thing at a medium distance, something about like that right there. That's comfortable. I can lean into it, but not feel like I'm hanging way off the tree, okay? Some guys are sitters in saddles, okay? I'm a leaner. A sitter or a kneeler would be a guy who puts his knees against the tree and lets that bear some of the weight. That's not me. If you feel comfortable that way, you might want to get knee pads or something to kind of help you with that point of contact. Me, I'm a leaner, and I stay very comfortable like this. I can sit all day long or hang all day long in my saddle this way. Another thing you need to consider is footwear, all right? Because you're on your feet a lot of the time. You need to make sure you have a pretty stiff-soled shoe. These tennis shoes I have on now actually are not great for this, right? Because the sole flexes really easy. But if you have a stiff sole, it's going to allow you to spread out that pressure along your whole foot and you don't have pressure points. One of the things I really like about this cruiser platform in particular is it has an angled front. I can adjust how my feet hit the platform without actually making adjustments to the saddle for the tilt. So right now, they're flat, kind of a 90-degree angle to the tree. If I need a break from that, I can just lean my feet out and voila, my feet are angled up. It's a different position, helps you stay comfortable, helps you from moving and squiggling and worming around when deer are close. If you hang all day, you might want to take all the weight off your feet, okay? So to do that, what you might end up doing, just for a break, extending out your tether, just sitting in the saddle like that right there. That's going to allow you to sit all day, have a little moment of comfort. Maybe you can sit and eat lunch like this. And then when it's back to time to getting serious, you just stand up, tighten that thing up, you're back to hunting. Another thing that's important with comfort in a saddle is the way it fits your body. These cruisers are made with a pleat in the middle, so it gives it some extra slack. So you'll want to make sure that pleat is opened up, the saddle's far up your back, and you're able to sit into the saddle as opposed to just lean against it. Right here, this thing is wrapping around more of my body. It's relieving pressure points and distributing that weight across the whole saddle, making it super comfortable for me all day long. Another thing you have to watch out for is hip pinch, okay? Hip pinch happens when these loops that attach to your bridge are too tight and it puts pressure against your hips. The more clothing you put on, the worse this can get. It can feel comfortable at a time, but over time you have extra clothes that help put pressure there, okay? So a way to alleviate that is to make sure your bridge is long enough. All right, this is actually adjustable right here. You can let some slack out, or you can tighten it up. Right now, it's about lit up about 2/3 of the way, and it feels really, really nice for me. I have narrow hips, but these things are super adjustable, and they make a couple different sizes depending on your body type that will really let you customize the saddle to fit you. Another thing you can temporarily do to just kind of mix it up a little bit and take some pressure off is you can turn sideways and just kind of lean into the tree right there. It's very comfortable. I've actually taken naps like this, just right up against the tree. Real nice, real easy, and then right away you're ready to get back up and shoot a deer. Another thing to consider is the height of your tether, okay? I'm not gonna adjust this because it would get a little bit dangerous and a little tedious, but you don't want this thing too high or too low on your tree. Right here, it's about perfect. It's about nose high for me when I'm standing up on my platform. I really like that height because I'm not swinging, but I'm also not really tight and short up to the tree. If I was to have this thing lower, I would have to really shorten my tether and I'd be really close to the tree. The opposite is true if it was high on the tree. If I reached up all the way up here and put my tether there, I can promise you from experience, my learning days taught me not to do that, because then you feel like you're in a porch swing that you cannot control. Okay, so something really here, right about face level. It's very manageable, very comfortable height for your tether. A couple safety tips for hunting from a tree saddle. You're gonna probably wanna put on some clothes if you get up here and you start cooling off, right? So you need to make sure that you're always still strapped in. You can sometimes put on your lineman belt if it's easier and gets this out of your way to put on your top. One tip I would have is to probably have the bottoms on that you want to wear in the tree. It's a whole lot easier to put on a jacket than it is to change your bottoms down here. Another thing to consider is going to the bathroom. If you gotta go number 2, you gotta get down. That's just, you should do that no matter what. It's a bad thing that could happen there. But if you're a guy in a saddle, you can do the seatbelt maneuver like I showed you a while ago, and it's very easy to go number 1 from the tree. So, it's also really important to be safe going down the tree. You're gonna take your lineman's belt, undo that guy, go around the tree again, clip in, put the weight on your lineman's belt, off your tether, going to unclip there, run that back through the loop, store this guy away, and you can start your descent. If you found this video helpful and you want to check out some of our other stuff, we do have a video that might help you decide what saddle you should buy, which one will be right for you. Also, you should go check out our video about how to hang a saddle fast, because I did this very tediously to show you how. However, when you're in the woods on public land, you want to be efficient, fast, so you can get to hunting. Go check out that video too. Remember, this is your element. Live in it.